Let's talk about perfectionism. If you're feeling that not good enough feeling, like your homeschool is just, it's good, it's just not good enough, or you think you're doing a great job until you see somebody else doing something else, or you watch some other person's child that they're doing a great job, better than what you're doing, and you're just feeling that not good enough feeling. Do you know when you've matched the not good enough feeling, when you actually have satisfied that not good enough feeling? Have you got to that place where you can actually say, you know what, actually my homeschool is good enough? Or do you have a penchant, thank you, do you have a penchant for telling yourself that it should be more, or it should be perfect? Or maybe you don't tell yourself that, but you'll know if you're a homeschool perfectionist if you answer yes to most of these questions. Do you give up on projects that don't fit your natural aptitude? Do you spend too much time dipping alphabet printables, clipping alphabet printables, hand lettering, or perusing Pinterest because you know the right way to do a project must be in there and somehow, some way you will find it? Do you double check your work and your kids' work? Do you vacuum your way out of rooms? Are you continually trying to improve or recreate an aspect of your homeschool? Maybe it's the curriculum, maybe it's your philosophy, maybe it's the approach. Does anyone tell you that you're spending too much time on a specific project? Do you avoid trying new activities because you don't want to risk making mistakes? I've got these questions in my Homeschool Mama Self-Care book that I'm sharing with you. And I know all about perfectionism because I come by it naturally. Firstborn, and I definitely was a daughter of a perfectionist. It's natural for me, and I think it is natural for most of us to think that there's surely got to be a perfect way to approach our homeschool. So today I'm going to give you a few ideas about how to grapple with perfectionism in your homeschool. This comes from the journaling notebook that I've created that is available at the Homeschool Mama Retreat, which I'm going to be opening in the next 2 weeks. So if you're interested in it, let me know. So I am someone that has grappled with perfectionism, and I have grappled with it in my homeschool. Here are some questions that you can include in your journaling in your mornings when you have a little bit of a quiet time, or when you have time separate from the kids, and just look at it and say, okay, where am I at in this not feeling good enough thing in my homeschool? Biggest question you can ask yourself is, why are you trying to be perfect anyway? What's that about? We all might have different answers to that question, but we get to know ourselves a little bit better when we actually intentionally spend time with ourselves. If you can, on the regular, if you know that you're a perfectionist and you know there's a certain activity or there's some element of your life you're trying to make perfect, because usually we're not trying to make all of our different aspects perfect, we're focusing on certain ones. And if you know you have a natural penchant towards a certain area of perfectionism, write it down. Ask yourself, what would happen if I couldn't do the thing perfectly right now? If the thing that I want perfect isn't perfect, what would be the natural result? What does it make me feel when it's imperfect? Why are you trying to be perfect anyway? I know for myself, for me, and it's not everyone's experience, but for me, it had something to do with feeling unworthy, of feeling like I would be more worthy or valuable if I was perfect. Well, it turns out nobody has that potential in this life anyways, so we're able to accept it in others that they're imperfect. Can we learn to accept it in ourselves? Does imperfection really speak of unworthiness? Or does it just speak of humanness? Do you expect everyone around you to be perfect? Sometimes we can flip the tables and actually expect others to be perfect around us and not expect that perfection in ourselves. Would you say that other people would agree that you actually expect them to be perfect, flawless, without mistakes, and you can be imperfect? Do you actually know anybody that is perfect? Like know them? because it's easy to put a picture out there on Instagram or on Facebook or on podcasts or literally anywhere, even in the grocery store. If we are leaving the four walls of our home, we can put on a specific facade that fits a specific scenario, which we perceive or believe is probably the perfect approach. But really, do you know, when you really get to know someone, get to know all their stories, get to know their back history, get to know what's really going on in their family or in their lives, do you ever actually know anybody that's perfect? Have you experienced pain or punishment or rejection because you were wrong or imperfect? And probably most of us would say yes. Very few of us would say there was no attachment to that. So when we look back at that moment, the first moment that you think of when you didn't perform the way that you were expected to perfectly, what was the scenario? How did it make you feel? What were your resulting behaviors? Did you then decide that you will never want to experience this moment of shame or this moment of punishment or this moment of rejection again? And so you would put on that cloak or facade of perfection. We can actually go back to those moments and we can recreate those moments, experience those moments again by allowing ourselves to mentally go back to it or maybe write it out, talk through with somebody the moment that we experienced it, and then actually engage ourselves in that moment as though we are with ourselves, maybe a parent approach. We actually are parenting ourselves in that moment, and then being an alter voice in the actual scene and saying to ourselves, I'm sorry that this person in this scene is expecting you to be perfect. I'm sorry they're rejecting you, or they're making you feel unworthy, or they're making you feel punished because you're imperfect. It's okay that you're imperfect. Do you have to be perfect for others to stay with you? That's a big one. If you're struggling with this concept of perfection and you know that you're supposed to be perfect, otherwise people can't accept you, you get anxious and uncertain if people actually stick with you, stay with you, stay in connection or relationship with you despite your imperfection. Do you require others to be perfect for you in order for you to stick with them? Or are you able to stay with them even when they're not engaging you the way that you would ideally want you to engage? Now, I'm not speaking about something abusive or something that truly is not appropriate. I'm speaking to maybe a difference of opinion. There's a few of those this year where we feel truly different than some of the very important people in our lives, and we see things differently than them. Do you require others to be perfect for you in order for you to stick with them? Are you showing up authentically so others can genuinely affirm and connect with you? Sometimes when we're putting on that facade of perfectionism, we are really showing up as the person we think we're supposed to be. And funny enough, who I think we're supposed to be and who you might think you're supposed to be could actually be really different. All you have to do is have a partner, someone that's really close to you or a good friend, to get to know and discover that the way they think the ideal life is or the way they should ideally show up is not actually the same. We all have our different versions of what perfect actually looks like, but the goal is not actually perfect. The goal is authentic. Authentic. Just being you. Not trying to practice being you, but just being you. Are you declaring your own worth and validation because you're perfect? You don't have to, because you are not worthy or validatable, new word. You are not worthy or validatable because you have done everything right, or because other people say that you are perfect and have done everything right or beautiful or enough. You are worthy and valuable because you are. You've been created. You are present in all of who you are. You are worthy and valuable. So these are the first thoughts that I think about when grappling with perfectionism. I'd be very curious if this is something that is a challenge for you. You can throw your comments, your questions, your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'm glad to engage them. And if you want to dig deep into this discussion point or on a variety of different points, you can actually learn a little bit more about the Homeschool Mama Retreat in the link in my bio above. There is a free mini retreat available. It really is a very short taster of how I engage in video format, but in the Homeschool Mama Retreat, you'll actually connect with me live, one-on-one, and we're gonna dig deep into the things that are really most pertinent and most important to you, because who you are and what you're really about actually manifests in how you show up as a homeschool mom. And how you show up as a homeschool mom will influence how content or happy you are doing your homeschool thing. So if you're interested in more of that, you can DM me directly. But otherwise, I want to close by sharing this last thought. Above all, accept yourself. Be satisfied with your efforts. Look around and see how your how your planning has benefited your children. See how your watchful eye identifies organic learning opportunities. See how you're more comfortable in planning menus and managing your household now than before. See how your temper isn't as turbulent. See how you listen to your kids more. Your marriage is more harmonious if you have one, and your home is more enjoyable. See how your children are kind and thoughtful. Good job, Mama. Look at what you have done. You are good enough. I hope you and your kids have a charmed week. I'll talk to you soon.